Hello, Internet.
Hey, Internet.
Yeah. Remember when you were talking about you didn't want
Yelling?
to yell and
Yelling into the microphone?
snap the microphone?
Dale?
Yeah.
Hey, Internet.
Derek is peaking.
Welcome. I peaked long ago, friend. Welcome to episode 140 something.
Or Halloween.
What? Okay, yeah. Who's peaking now, buddy?
I was gonna have a soundboard, but it didn't work. So because it just went into my headphones, and it didn't come through the audio of the podcast. So I'm just gonna scream and make Halloween noises the whole podcast.
Dale's basically that guy from the Police Academy movies.
Yeah.
But all he can do is yell. That's the entire Dale soundboard.
I can't make any noises of like a helicopter or anything.
Yeah,
I could
no
just
sound
be
effects.
like, ah!
Just yelling. Hey, it's episode 144 of Outrage Factory. The podcast where we look at the things that made people mad online and explain why they're dumb for caring. It is a very spooky Halloween episode. I am your co-host, Derek Bolin.
I'm your other co-host, Dale DeRuiter, or Venom.
Oh, I am also an inmate. Because,
look at my costume. It consists of just a fake hockey. Can you see? It says Venom?
That's pretty dope. I like how it's Eric Lindros's old number as well, 88.
Yeah, I hope I don't get a concussion and unable to continue the podcast.
I am an inmate because my life is a literal prison. Something I think we can all relate to.
I thought we weren't going to be emo this Halloween.
Right.
We're just going to be scary.
There will never be a holiday or day of celebration where I'm not emo. So.
Oh my God, let's do that every podcast. Every time I get bored of you talking, I'll just be like,
Dale, how have you been celebrating your, as we all know, Halloween is extra fucked up this year. Have you found it to be more or less annoying with people allegedly socially distancing and not doing anything really?
Well, I don't have a child and I'm an introvert, so it's the same as, I don't know, like I didn't make plans and pretend this was going to be like super fun party later or anything. So sadly, I didn't want to talk about being emo because then I'd just be pathetic and be like, this is the this is the only thing I'm doing this Halloween is this podcast. I mean, it's hard to be sad with a Venom mask. Really.
It is. I mean, you should just start wearing that to work.
I mean, it counts as a mask or / face covering.
It does. Although, what the mouth on that thing is that like pure mesh?
Yeah, it's like it's the same material as this fake hockey jersey. It's like that like the super thin. I don't know, like when you have really cheap gym shorts. It's like that material.
Yeah, so it's probably not blocking too many droplets in the droplet department.
It's basically like a hot box in here with just my breath and the moisture of my breath. So it's like I'm probably sweating already, and we just started.
And you're a dude who runs hot to begin with, so that's
yeah. Actually, that's going away because I started. Full disclosure, this is what's happening in my life. I started taking this gout like herbal supplement. And it's supposed to be like helping me digest all the stuff that you're not really able to with gout. And it's like making me a bit thinner. So now I'm just cold all the time, except for right now. It also makes me poop water, but I probably shouldn't have told you that.
Well, that's fine. Do you think that contributes to you're just like shedding body heat through your liquid poops?
Yeah, I think that has 95% to do with it.
Just like the real Venom, huh? Anyone on their comic book lore. So no trick-or-treating this year. Blessing and a curse. It was actually way easier. I just about an hour before we started recording, I took Noah. We got in the vehicle. We drove to Walmart. We bought $20 worth of candy. We came back here. We opened the candy. We ate it. I didn't have to go walk around in the fucking cold for 3 hours, going like door to door and begging for candy. So I'm hoping. Like, yeah, it's fun for the kids or whatever, but I'm hoping that this version of Halloween where we just buy our own fucking candy and then eat it all night and don't have to go outside in the freezing cold for 3 hours, I hope it has some staying power.
That's pretty much every Saturday night lately. Like, since COVID started, that's pretty much all you do is you go to the store, you buy food and you go home and you eat it while you watch TV, and then I pretend like that's not what I wanted to do in the first place. It'd be like, oh darn, I can't go hang out with friends. I got to stay home and play video games and eat junk food. Oh, this is the worst. Everybody feel bad for me when it's bliss, pretty much.
Does anyone feel bad for you for
Nah,
that ever?
how could they? I'm so happy. Everything's great.
One downside to this COVID-y Halloween is that fewer people dressing up, so we have fewer problematic costumes to talk about.
Oh like we can't talk about like cultural appropriation costumes or girls being sexy and then being objectified costumes or dudes putting on blackface and being insensitive. But we can talk about one thing. This house in Maple Ridge had Halloween decorations outside. There's been a couple where people put up decorations outside and people are like, "Yo, it's Halloween," but that's kind of fucked up. Like everybody's kind of like, I guess everybody's a little sensitive to death right now. So the whole Halloween thing is like dancing like, yeah, we want to like trivialize death, but not too much because a lot of people have died from COVID. So this house in Maple Ridge had like a bunch of skeletons and stuff, and then it had like effigies hanging from a rope because I guess like that thing. And then people were complaining. They're like, yeah, right now with everything that's happening in the world, this is a little culturally insensitive or whatever to put people hanging. And
Question.
yeah.
Is it more racist to like have absolutely no knowledge of hanging and how it was used as like capital punishment in fucking many countries since medieval times and just be like, when I see something hanging, I immediately think of a black person.
Yeah,
like what's more racist? Like, yeah, like you immediately go to that, or because this you said this display, it didn't only have people hanging, it had a guillotine, it had some other like forms of execution, right?
Yeah, just like basic old school like Renaissance murder, which is fine. And yeah, I'm with you. Like not like even in the South, like when they were lynching black people, they were lynching like Irish people and Italians and stuff. Like, you know, before they, I don't know, it's like this awkward thing that nobody talks about, like that short time period before they considered Irish people and Italian people as white people. They were just like kind of on the outskirts, but then they got, well, I don't know. It's this whole huge, like, I don't even like talking about it because everybody's hair on their neck just stood up because it's like, yeah, we shouldn't talk about this. But yeah, like,
yeah, it's the scary shit that's happened to me this Halloween was hearing you just say that.
Yeah, like I'm with you. Like, I think it's racist to just assume that it was only black people that were ever hung because it's like you're just, I don't know. There's something about the stupidity of not recognizing all the things that have happened and like the tragic things that people did regardless of what race you were when they wanted to kill you before. And like there's more to the world and terrible things humans did to each other than just the southern US.
Yeah, like guess what? When Nazis wanted to like make very public displays, they would just like hang people in town squares and shit. Something that's you look like you're making a break for it. What?
No, sorry. I didn't want to take away. I was just putting on my slippers because, like I said before, it's like my feet are cold, but my face is really hot. Yeah, it's really distracting.
Got to get comfy to talk about racism. Something like, else I learned.
I want to touch back on that. Like you just talked about Nazi things, like in the Jewish rocket factory, like Werner von Braun, the guy who came over to America with Project Paperclip and helped build NASA into what it is today. Before he did that, in Germany, he ran the Jewish rocket factory during Nazis, and they would routinely hang the slowest Jewish people in the factory as an incentive / warning to make all the other slave workers work faster.
Yeah, like there's tons of historical significance to hanging that I think it almost feels more racist to look at it and be like, nah, I just thought black person.
Because that's all you equate with hanging. Yeah, that is very racist.
Yeah. Something I learned in the 2 minutes of research I just did is historically, hanging was the only method of execution used in Canada. And was used as possible punishment for all murders until 1961. And then they basically completely abolished the death penalty in 1998. But hanging was how we got the job done until
Huh.
1961, which seems that's like very late stage
Yeah,
hanging.
there's like rock music that you listen to that was around the time when people were still being hung.
Yeah,
Like the Beatles,
yeah.
half their catalog, they were still hanging people in Canada.
You're like, oh, I'm gonna pop on a Beatles record and go to the fucking hanging in the town square.
Yeah,
Check that
like
shit out.
did Yellow Submarine make the cut? They're like, is this like people are still getting hanged period Beatles, or was that like White Album and like hold your hand Beatles?
Yeah, it's like that was actually what caused the shift in the Beatles, was like them
Yeah.
moving on to capital punishment in Canada.
Yeah, it wasn't them going to India and doing acid and like opening up their brain and stuff. It was they just saw that people were not getting hung anymore in Canada.
So the person who basically reported this display, it just says a Maple Ridge mother.
Yeah.
The woman takes particular issue with setting up a public display featuring hanging bodies, which can be especially painful for Black people to see because of the history of lynching. I would bet any amount of money in the world that this woman is white.
I'd say that since it is Maple Ridge, I'm pretty sure you've got a sound bet there. Like one thing I was thinking of, like it is dumb to assume that it all has to do with lynching, but on the other hand, it's like it is kind of tone deaf with just how everything's up in the air right now. I would be like, maybe I won't do the hanging stuff this year, but as well, it's like on one hand you're like, well, you shouldn't just don't do it to avoid getting talked to, but on the other hand, it's like it's only up for like 2 or 3 days. Like just wait till Halloween's over and then it's gone.
Yeah.
Like it's not like you have to worry about this being there forever.
Well, I also don't think like anyone's legitimately worried about it. I like this feels very much like this performative act of like, oh,
like virtue signaling.
Yeah, I'm so fucking woke. I'm gonna go to the newspaper and tell them how offended I was by this Halloween display. You know?
Yeah.
Anything else to say about that?
Well, I was gonna say like another like issue that people had with Halloween decorations outside of a house was somebody set up a skeleton on a stripper pole. I didn't link this story because it was just like kind of like yeah, whatever. But at the same time, you're like, what? Like that's like kind of like someone had issue with it for entirely different reasons. Like it had nothing to do with like the actual death. I guess it's just they didn't like skeletons sexualized or something.
Deemed too risque for family-friendly block. This took place in Richmond, Texas, and it wasn't just one stripping skeleton. She created a skeleton strip club on her lawn named The Candy Shop. Features skeleton strippers pole dancing in wigs, bony customers getting lap dances and offering tips, and even a skeletal bouncer wearing shades and a baseball hat emblazoned with the word security.
Do you think that the skeletons had little pasties on, or do you think it was like full nude skeletons?
I mean, yeah, they definitely it's all hanging out there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you know, I don't Noah.
Hi Noah. Guest
Happy
appearance.
Halloween, buddy. All right. See you later. He's going to watch YouTube.
Is he jacked on candy right now?
Yeah, it's basically all he has eaten today, I think.
Nice.
We went to a pumpkin patch for a little bit earlier and he had some popcorn there. And then since we've been home, it's just been nonstop candy, which, hey, one day a year.
Yeah, like that's what Halloween is. It's the one day you get to eat all candy. Like it's funny because everybody's like, oh no, with COVID, kids aren't going to have all the fun stuff that they like with Halloween. And it's like all they ever cared about was candy. Like maybe dressing up, but it's always been about the candy. Like for me growing up, I remember back it was like all I wanted to do was get as much candy as possible and then go home and eat the fuck out of all that candy. So yeah. What I'm saying is I think the kids are going to be fine after this Halloween as long as you give them candy.
Yes.
Like do what Derek did. It's the perfect fatherhood moment. It's just give your kids candy so that this remains the candy holiday.
Yeah. Plus you're teaching them personal responsibility, right? You don't have to make your kids be beggars going door to door asking for handouts like liberals. You can teach them
Yeah.
personal responsibility, earn your own money, get a goddamn job, go to the store, buy your own candy. It very much a teaching moment for.
And the best part is you don't have to go through all that candy just to find razor blades and drugs that somebody might have put in it. Unless,
Okay, can we get to that? Because it fucking annoys me every year because
it's never actually happened.
Well, without fail, everyone like sounds the alarm about people sneaking drugs to children in the form of candy.
Yeah.
Razor blades, I get. Like razor blades, sure, they're cheap, they're inexpensive. You could probably hide them in candy relatively easily. Yeah. But like drugs, like as someone who did a lot of drugs in my life,
yeah,
I wasn't certainly about to waste them on children for any reason. And
yeah, exactly. It's not like you're going to be like, oh, these drugs that are very expensive and I really enjoy doing it, I'm just going to give them away.
Yeah. Oh, a really fucking cool night where everyone puts up on costumes and it's trippy as balls and I can like eat candy and chill with my friends. Should I take these drugs myself or should I give them to the neighborhood children? I don't really know what I want to do here.
I think maybe if it ever actually happened, which I doubt it ever actually happened, but maybe if it happened like once or twice, it was probably an accident where like some dude or woman, I don't want to be gender specific about drug eating.
You shouldn't.
They're doing all these drugs in their house and they're like happen to be by their bowl of candy and then they're like smash. I don't know how you do drugs. You do like handfuls of pills. Do you like how I pretend I've never done drugs before?
Yeah, I don't.
You drink a couple pills and that's your drugs. Like maybe they were doing drugs or portioning their drugs to sell their drugs over this bowl and they just ended up spilling them in there.
Yeah, or like imagine like it's some drug lord, drug trafficker, and his mule gets to like the drop or the exchange or whatever the fuck they're gonna do. I don't know. I've seen some movies. And he unzips the bag full of drugs and peels it open, and it's just like 4 tons of those fucking rockets, like the little sugar. And they're like, uh-oh, like realization dawns on him that like somewhere across town there's just a guy like handing out baggies of cocaine to children.
And then you like smash cut to like some little Halloween kid party and they're all like, whoa,
talking about their startup, fucking writing a film script.
They're like, you know what I think about the universe? And they're like, or they like go up to each other like, have you ever done DMT?
Oh, was there a thing about Joe Rogan? Speaking of DMT, was Joe Rogan in the news again?
There was a definite thing about Joe Rogan. So Joe Rogan's been in and out of the news since he signed that giant deal with Spotify for $100 million. And everyone's like, oh my God, you can actually make money off podcasts. Let's all
ludicrous amounts,
all copy Dale and Derek and get back into podcasts, even though we've been doing it for 3 years. We haven't gotten no 100 million.
Yeah, well, I'm just like, give Joe Rogan a like marginally smaller slice of the pie. Like give him 198 million.
No, he got 100.
Oh,
so give him 98 and 98 give us each one.
Yeah, or 60-40 split or like 70-30, whatever.
Give whoever's funnier the bigger take.
Give so what's
okay, so
what happened?
I'm just gonna walk you through. So since Joe Rogan's been on Spotify, there's been a whole bunch of those like, those people who like, there's no way. Okay, fine. Sensitive libs. They're all like who work at Spotify. They're like, we don't like Joe Rogan because he has bad people on the podcast, which obviously they've never listened to the podcast because Joe Rogan has always said, like, has this thing where he's like, the only cure for bad speech is to have better speech or talk to these people and debate them and prove them wrong with information and facts. So these people.
Yeah, but he doesn't do that.
Yeah, he does.
Nah, I've seen like.
How many have you listened to? Like full podcast?
Oh, very few. But the other thing is that like Joe Rogan doesn't. It's not like he's like doing the inverse and giving like the fucking like the Candace Owens of the left FaceTime on his podcast.
Dude, he gave Bernie Sanders 3 hours on his podcast.
He's platforming, yeah, but Bernie Sanders and Candace Owens are not remotely the same.
He never had
like,
Candace Owens on his podcast.
He did. That was the one time I saw him call someone out. It was because she was saying some stupid bullshit about how climate change was a liberal myth, and like he actually called her out for it. But like the rest of the time,
Well, he's had like Andrew Yang on and Tulsi Gabbard and Camilla Harris.
These people are mainstream politicians. I'm talking, he finds these fringe fucking idiots from the right, like Candace Owens and Charlie Kirk, and who's the dipshit? He just Alex Jones.
But Alex Jones isn't right wing. Alex Jones was always left wing. Dude, it's just now it's like if you have conspiracy theories, you're automatically right wing. So, anyways, as I was saying, like
Alex Jones talks about Alex Jones is 100% right wing.
Okay, maybe he is. I don't know. I didn't get that because I don't really follow Alex Jones. Like, besides the Sandy Hook thing, I haven't really okay, Alex Jones fucked up super bad with Sandy Hook, and that was terrible. And I get why he was deplatformed off anything. So Alex Jones goes on Joe Rogan. Everybody's freaking out because they're like, Alex Jones is a piece of shit. You shouldn't have him on here. But Joe Rogan did the right thing. And he's like, I want to talk to Alex Jones because even though Alex Jones said some wrong stuff and it was terrible, he does say stuff that is right that people should know. Like, he is one of the first people who broke agent provocateurs for like peaceful protests where they'll hire police officers to dress as protesters and then smash windows so they could break it up. He did like break Bohemian Grove to everybody. He did start talking about Epstein like years before Epstein was arrested the first time. So on the podcast, he has Alex Jones and everybody freaks out. But the whole time that Alex was on there, Joe Rogan, every time he said something crazy, Joe Rogan would be like, whoa, 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 whoa. We got to look this up. We got to make sure you're right. I don't want to get, because like since he's been on Spotify, he's been a little more vigilant about backing up everything that's said on his podcast with facts. So the guy who produces it, like at the same time is Googling all this shit that Alex Jones is saying. So Alex Jones will say something. Joe Rogan will be like, fuck, hold on. And then Alex Jones will keep trying to like steamroll talk over him and be like, fuck, stop. We got to Google this. So they'll stop and they'll Google what he said. And then the scariest thing was a lot of the shit he was talking about, Alex Jones, turned out to be true. So what's with the disgusted look on your face?
Because it's fucking bullshit that this far right idiot who plays a character who spews bullshit and has like done legitimate harm to so many people's lives, and we're like, he was right about 2 or 3 of the conspiracy theories, so he has a right to be on the straight. He doesn't have a right. He doesn't have a right to be on shit. I don't fucking care if he's right about all of them. This guy's a fucking asshole. He does not deserve a platform. He's the shittiest, most base toxicity, regardless of your political views. 20 years ago, fucking someone like Alex Jones would have been like, you would have been able to see them on like a cable, like late night cable TV, like between 3 a.m. and 4 a.m. And they did that so that these people, they could still take money from them to have them on TV, but they didn't expose their views to other people. And the fucking internet changed all of that. Alex Jones is a fucking shitty human being, a shitty person, a shitty journalist. Like, I don't give a fuck if he's right about these things. Joe Rogan knows exactly what he's fucking doing when he gets someone like Alex Jones on. He is taking Alex Jones's audience and he is getting him over to Joe Rogan to listen to Joe Rogan's shit. Like, it's not accidental that Joe Rogan keeps having these fringe fucking idiot right-wingers on his show.
Because but he's not having that many fringe right-wingers on his show. He's on like episode 1500 and he hasn't had anybody like Alex Jones on there for like this is the first time Alex Jones has been on there in years.
He is, but he definitely has more of the fringe right-wingers. Like, you can counter and say, Joe Rogan had mainstream politician Bernie Sanders on there, and him and Alex Jones are kind of the same. He has a person from the left, a person from the right. It's this false equivalence bullshit, because Alex Jones is a fucking crock of shit human being, and Bernie Sanders is like, he's a fucking U.S. senator. Like, they are not one and the same.
It's not all right-wing people. Like, he has left-wing people on there. Most of the time, he has like authors and people who have written books. Bro, you gotta stop eating candy.
I'm not stopping eating candy at all.
Mute your mic then.
I'm not saying.
Oh my God.
just fucking have the people.
Dude.
What? Yeah, it's the one day
Fucking
a year.
podcasting with a mouthful.
It's the one day a year. It's the one day a year, bro.
Yeah.
He shouldn't be like, I don't give a fuck. Like, yeah, find people with right-wing political beliefs or like conservatives. Sure, have them on there. There is no fucking excuse to have people like Candace Owens and Alec Jones and whoever the fuck else.
Yeah,
on this show.
the thing is, you have these people, like you get Alex Jones' audience, like you said, and then you fact checked everything, and then if these people believe Alex Jones because they haven't heard anybody criticize his fucking views and shit right in real time, then they'll see Joe Rogan and Jamie Vernon fact check everything and be like, oh, he's fucking wrong about this. I should stop believing this. So what you got to do is you can't just partition everybody off and be like, well, this person's facts I don't agree with. I'm never going to talk to them. You got to get discussion out there so that like the truth will prevail. Like you got to have like how you said Candace Owens, he called her out and stuff. You got to have stuff like that because that way these people get called out in front of their fans, and then their fans are exposed to views that aren't like in the echo chamber of that right-wing person.
Right, but that's not what he's doing, because you said yourself, and you're fucking high if you believe that Alex Jones and Joe Rogan didn't have exactly what they were going to be talking on this podcast nailed down months in advance.
Well, yeah.
So Alex Jones comes on this podcast, and you said yourself, it's like, oh, they're Googling shit on the air and being like, holy shit, it's true. So actually the inverse is happening. You don't have Alex Jones listeners going on and being like, well, Joe Rogan debunked all of his bullshit. Guess I'll stop listening to Alex Jones. You have millions of people who haven't been exposed to Alex Jones's bullshit, hearing that and being like, wow, Alex Jones is right about a lot of stuff. Maybe Sandy Hook was a fucking myth. Let's go see what else he's talking about. It's harmful, man. It's harmful. Like
they talked about how Sandy Hook was wrong on that specific show and how he fucked up there.
Dope. I'm super stoked he could do that, but like fucking Joe Rogan is intentionally platforming these people, not with the intention of cutting them down.
He's not being like everybody should be exposed to Alex Jones. It's like he likes Alex Jones, so he put Alex Jones on the show so that they can talk about it.
He likes Alex Jones.
I like when he has Alex Jones on the show because Alex Jones is an entertaining person, and I like what he's saying. Like, you have this problem that a lot of other people who criticize Joe Rogan, they're like, people who listen to Joe Rogan aren't smart enough to discern for themselves like I am, so they shouldn't have Alex Jones, because then when somebody listens to it, they won't be able to see if it's like, they won't be able to call bullshit on it themselves, and they'll just believe it all. Whereas you get like people like me who listen to it and we're like, oh yeah, that's awesome. Like, I like conspiracy theories, but that sounds like horseshit, so it's probably horseshit. Like, you can't just assume everybody's too dumb to realize what's happening.
But the political climate has proven that people are too dumb. You look at the rise of things like QAnon. You look at how Alex Jones got as popular as he did in the first place. You look at these dipshits like Paul fucking Watson, or like there are actual Republican mainstream candidates and like US senators who believe in QAnon, who like send these QAnon signals to their followers, man. Yeah. That to me does not suggest that like, oh, you know, maybe we're wrong that people are too fucking dumb and should be entrusted to, because Joe Rogan is intentionally exposing people to these ideas. And I don't give a fuck if he's doing it under this noble pretense that people can decide for themselves what's true and what's not. It's fucking harmful. It is 100% fucking harmful. He knows that, and he's capitalizing on it. He's building an audience, and he's fucking making money.
He doesn't have to build an audience. He's already got the audience. That's the thing. Like, he doesn't have to have Alex Jones on there. Like, people would still listen to the podcast if he wasn't on there.
Right, but every time, I'm sure. Let me go. Do they post these on YouTube episodes? Yeah.
I think the Alex Jones on Spotify is the most popular Joe Rogan episode.
There you fucking go, right there. And that's like for a number of reasons, but it's like, no, this shit does not need to happen. The most popular podcast host in the fucking world does not need to have a human shit stain like Alex Jones on his show.
All right, hold on. I gotta take off my mask.
What?
Oh, that's it. I made it half hour.
You did it.
I'm mostly just thirsty, and I can't drink through that mask.
Can we just
how do you like my hair?
Let's look at you. Look very Venom-esque. You're still who the fuck played Venom in the most recent Spider-Man
Tom
movie?
Hardy. My lips aren't
Right.
big enough to be
He,
as cool as Tom Hardy. So yeah, let's move on from Joe Rogan. So that's what happened. I mean, we could argue about it the whole time. And like, yeah, maybe he shouldn't have Alex Jones. I love that he had Alex Jones on because personally, Alex Jones conspiracy theories bring me joy. Not because I believe them, but like last time he was on Joe Rogan, I think it was episode 1000, he talked about like trans-dimensional pedophile reptilian aliens and how um Donald Trump had this clandestine like fucking operation where he was going to root out these like reptilian pedophiles. That was like right before he got elected and stuff. And I'm like, this is fucking crazy. I love it. It's like David Icke. Like
it
that
is like
guy,
David Icke.
David Icke is probably the only person worse than Alex Jones because he's all like so anti-Semitic and shit. But at the same time, like he's like talking about reptilians and politics and like always talking about the Illuminati and all that shit. And
Yeah.
yeah,
And that shit's hilarious until someone walks into a synagogue and shoots a bunch of Jewish people dead because they think they're secretly lizard people and this will expose them. Or someone takes a gun into Comet Pizza because they think there's a pedophile ring in the bait. Like these things, back when our brains function properly,
they
kind of like
never functioned properly.
okay,
Derek.
but on like the bleeding edge of the internet, when we were like, oh, there's so many interesting and cool conspiracy theories out there.
Yeah.
And then everyone developed meth problems and everyone got super polarized. And now it's like, if believing that liberals are actually lizard people sent here to enslave the human race with their like ideas, and I can kill a few of them as a freedom fighter. And this is not like a fringe belief anymore. It's like this is now something that has entered the mainstream. So shit like that's just like straight up dangerous now. It's not funny. There's no entertainment value anymore. It's like this is actually radicalizing people and it's punching holes in our brains. And yeah, I fucking 100% believe that people have lost the ability to like think critically. So when and Joe Rogan fucking knows that too. The man's a fucking multi-million-dollar business. Like he's not going into this being like, well, I hope this wakes everyone up to Alex Jones and what a bad guy he is. He's going into it thinking, oh, more money for Joe Rogan. Fucking dope. Anyways, hey, on that note, it's fucking praise Jesus. Election season is upon us in, I don't know when you're actually publishing this episode as a podcast.
Monday. So
Okay.
November 2nd, day before the election, I guess.
So fucking tomorrow.
Oh, hey, one last thing about Joe Rogan. He's having an election special live on election night. And I think Alex Jones is going to pop back in there.
Yeah,
so
wouldn't be surprised.
Derek could watch that and have a fucking heart attack.
It's going to be Joe Rogan's. It's going to be Joe Rogan's completely unbiased, centrist podcast special featuring Candace Owens, Charlie Kirk, Alex Jones. Maybe that's Richard Spencer. And these are all people who are just reasonable humans. They just happen to.
No, they're not. None of those people except for Alex Jones will be on there. I think he's having Kyle Kalinske. And I can't remember who. He said a bunch of people. I think Tim Dillon and a bunch of those people.
I do like Kyle Kalinske.
You should like Tim Dillon. Tim Dillon is like if you took Alex Jones and took half the crazy out and replaced it with being a stand-up comedian because he's fucking hilarious, but he also has conspiracy theories, so it goes down a little bit smoother.
Right, I want to see who else is on this.
Okay.
Without watching a video.
Dude, did you see, I retweeted this tweet today. Joe Biden said that he tweeted, I'm not going to have lockdowns. We're not going to ruin the economy. Joe Biden put that. Like, it's like almost word for word a Trump tweet. And it's like, yeah, maybe you shouldn't, like, you don't want to, I don't know if you want to get into why they should or shouldn't have lockdowns. Like, the WHO is like walking back their whole view on, lockdowns and shit, but like for Joe Biden to say that right before the election, it's like, oh, you fucking tool. Like your whole political platform is you're not Trump. So if you start tweeting like Trump, it's just going to backfire.
I don't think Democrats want lockdowns any more than so the thing, our approach to how we fight this virus and what we understand about this virus has evolved to the point now where I don't think lockdowns are necessary or good.
I haven't been locked down this entire time.
Yeah.
I've been going to work in a shop the whole time and I never got it.
It's true.
the one thing that still is the one thing that still works is the 6 feet distance. Like that's the one thing that they said at the beginning that has never changed. And like masks help, but they're not going to like stop you from getting it because you still like can get air in from around the sides and stuff. But they help like if you have it from like you spreading it around. So
Well,
it's
yeah,
like,
like the it's supposed to be 6 feet of distance, and then masks are for when you can't have 6 feet of distance. And
but
like I
it,
think we've come to
yeah.
understand that it doesn't like live on surfaces as long as people thought. I think
Mm-hmm.
we've come to like understand that there are better ways of treating it, but like I don't think anyone wants a fucking lockdown. And I
No.
think Trump's saying that like Democrats, that's just Trump being like, yo, like Democrats want to take a big fat shit all over the economy and fucking take your job and feed it
Yeah.
to an unborn fetus that they'll then murder.
Well, I was just saying that is like Joe Biden, like his whole thing, like he's been taking pot shots at Trump, being like, he's handled this terribly, blah blah blah. But now having that tweet that sounds like Trump, it's like, well, fuck. Like, I'm not saying you should have lockdowns or you should like risk the like, because right now we're at this point where it's like if you have another lockdown, all the people who barely made it through the first one are gonna like starve to death. And it's a terrible thing to say, but it is true. Like, if anything, the lockdown just made the poor people poor, and it's gonna have all this like fucking terrible, like we're not even into the fact where people are getting evicted from their homes yet. Like that's still a cloud looming on the horizon where people who haven't been paying their mortgages or the rent are just going to get fucking booted out on the street, and then they're going to have to just figure out what they're going to do.
Yeah, there were all these safeguards that were kind of put in place that were
Mm-hmm.
intended to be temporary, but there's a wave like that we're about to fucking, I think everyone is slightly more optimistic than me, but I think we're about to enter like a fucking crippling recession where
Yeah.
a lot of people have lost their jobs, even the businesses that have reopened. And like we're in British Columbia where overall I think COVID's been handled pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
People here like shit their pants over, like I think we had like a case increase of like 200 the other day.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, I go and I look at like Pennsylvania, where Kate is from, and look at their numbers, and I'm like, holy fuck! Like we would be like absolutely screaming in panic if our numbers had ever touched what Pennsylvania's numbers were. So
Yeah. Like one sad thing to like not even just British Columbia, all of Canada. Like I always take a peek and see like where we are on the country rank. And right like in the beginning of this, we were like 15th, like we had the 15th most cases in the world, and now we're down to like 32nd because everybody just keeps ratcheting past us. Like even places like the Netherlands who have like half the population Canada has have more cases of COVID than we did. And it's just like, it's crazy. But one of the things Canada has that like these European countries don't have is we have space. Like we can all stay away from each other. And we aren't like typically generational in a home. I kind of forgot where we were going. But yeah, like you said, like it's so bad in the States, and Canada, we will do bad. Like it'll hit like the economy and stuff, but it won't be like, I don't think our society's gonna collapse. Like that was one of the like the tiny fears I had was like, what if it all just fucking goes away?
that was a fear. That was a hope of mine. I was like, what if it all goes away? And then we're just like back to this like dope hunter gatherer society. And like we
Dope
have
hunter gatherer? Oh no, dude.
yeah,
Have you ever hunted and gathered? It's just you walking in the forest
I've
all
gathered,
day,
I've gathered,
hungry.
I've gathered
That's
some
it.
things.
Yeah.
I've foraged for mushrooms, but I've never
Although
done that.
I am waiting on my gun license, so if we did go to hunter gatherer,
Yeah,
I could be one of the hunters, which would
true.
be okay. Here's a question: we go to hunter gatherer uh, society, but we don't have the gender norms that they had the last time we were hunter gatherers. So you like typically the reason I bring this up is like way back when the women were the gatherers and the men were the hunters, and that's kind of like if you want to get into it deep, you can think like that's why men and women kind of have some different personality traits and stuff based on evolving as hunters versus gatherers. So now we're all like gender woke and we know that anybody can be anything. So we tomorrow we're hunter gatherer. Are you going to be a gatherer or a hunter?
Do I get a gun if I'm a hunter?
Yes.
Yes, that that one.
Right?
The one that I get a fucking big fucking gun to kill
I
things.
think I think it was kind of like it's like one of those misogynist thing where it's like all the dudes are like, yeah, we're doing the fun one. You
Yeah.
guys could go pick berries. We're
Go
going,
gather things.
yeah. And then we all pretended it was bad. They're like, oh yeah, we have to run around outside, and some of us get squished by mammoths, and you guys have it easy. You just have to walk around in the bush and pick berries. Whereas dudes like back then were probably just fucking telling dick and fart jokes, and then like one of them would kill a mammoth, and then they just fuck off for the rest of the day. And joke
Yeah.
around.
Have you been hunting? It's like 1% action and 99% just laying around and doing fucking nothing.
Yeah, with your boys in the bush. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm
Push
not
boys.
I'm not gonna say anything about man on man love or anything, but if I was into that, and the thing I would like take advantage of it is I'd go into the bush with my lover, saying we're on a hunting trip, and just be like in a tent
Yeah.
hunting.
Like Brokeback Hunter. Oh,
Yeah.
fuck. That's where I was going.
Oh my god, there's the sequel right there. Brokeback
Dale,
Hunter. You're a
pitch it.
genius, Derek.
Go do some trick-or-treating tonight. Get a bunch of candy and then write a screenplay. I think we figured it out. The thing I was saying about BC, our numbers are pretty low, but like a lot of businesses have shut down probably permanently. And the ones that have opened, they're not doing so shit hot. Like
No.
I don't think people's behavior has not returned to a point where it was even remotely before the virus hit. So a bunch of restaurants and bars are at like half capacity. They're still all operating under reduced hours. So I think we're going to see the effects of that. There's still a fuck ton of people not earning a paycheck right now.
Yeah.
And that's going to have, there's going to be a few months a few months down the road, they're going to suddenly be like, okay, well, we can't keep this like no eviction thing or like no credit defaulting thing forever. So, back to the way it was. Good luck, everyone.
Yeah. And it's like, it's weird because it's like it's almost like there's waves of like businesses closing. Like at the beginning, there was like so many that closed. Like our gym, we went to Steve Nash, that went under, and now it's like World Fitness or something. And then what was I gonna say? Oh yeah, and then like just recently, I think like 2 weeks ago, Le Chateau announced they're like, yeah, we're done. And so like
Le
there's all
Chateau's done?
Yeah.
The whole chain?
Yeah, they're done. So if you're into Le Chateau, I only know this because Andrew's really into it. I like the shirts because they're fat guy compliant. And they have like the sides of their dress shirts have like two seams, so they fit a lot more comfortable if you have like a round torso instead of like a normal. Like if you're barrel chested like me, they fit more comfortably. They're gonna have like liquidation sales and stuff, I think, in November, like within a couple weeks. So
I'm actually looking at their website now that you just told me this, and I'm like, fucking Sale City, let's go.
There you go. Yeah, so it's like,
go.
Yeah.
How
do we get on this? Were we talking about the election? Do you want to talk about that anymore? Like,
well, so I want to say a few things. Thankfully, this will all be over allegedly as of Tuesday. There will of course be a ton of fucking like mail-in and absentee ballots to count.
They're saying it's going to take weeks.
Yeah, but I think like right now the polls, and I know everyone's going to like poo-poo the polls because of what happened last time around. But like,
poo-poo the polls.
Poo-poo the polls.
These polls aren't up to my standards.
The polls
peasant polls.
Biden absolutely shit-kicking Donald Trump.
That's what they said about Hillary too.
They did, but like even the margin of error that it took for Hillary's lead to evaporate and Trump to win last time, if you put that inside these polls, Biden would still have a sizable lead. I think people are just like sick of Donald Trump in general.
Oh God, how could you not be? Like, just even if Joe Biden, which I don't think he is, even if he was just as bad as Trump, everybody would elect him just to like have the volume turned down. Like everybody's sick and tired, and we're all stressed out because of COVID and shit. We just don't want to fucking listen to that yell talk, word salad asshole anymore. And I personally want Joe Biden, not because I like Joe Biden at all. I think he's like almost as garbage as Trump, but I'm fucking pro Kamala Harris. Why did I say that wrong? Anyways, I
Kamala.
want her.
Well, yeah, a bunch of like hard A sounds there. So like
Yeah,
Kamala Harris.
yeah.
You know, makes
And
sense.
like I want her because I feel like she's gonna she's like way better than Pence. Like Pence is just like almost like Dick Cheney, where you're like, what the fuck's up with that guy? Like he seems like he could
Yes,
be like some evil war hawk.
he is. Although I
And
think Mitch McConnell has been getting a lot of that lately as well. Is like they're like, oh, Mitch McConnell is like the architect of everything, and you're like, that dude's a fucking walking corpse. Like, what did he
but who's Mitch McConnell? Like, what does he have to do with anything?
He's he's a U.S. senator. He's the speaker of or he's the Senate Majority Leader Whip.
Oh, that how could I not know that?
But I don't know.
I
He's
barely
like
know
this,
those four I already mentioned.
he's like yeah, he's basically just like the Christ, the Emperor
Derek, nobody cares. Ah, oh,
Star
I'm not
Wars.
wearing my mask anymore.
Still works. I like seeing the actual face behind the mask.
Oh yeah, like Senator Palpatine. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
there you
get
go.
it.
Thank you.
That's good.
Anyways,
So he's like pulling the strings.
yeah, so Biden's kicking the fuck out of Trump. I do expect a Biden victory, but I guess we'll see how that shakes out. The fucking thing that's going on right now with like Hunter Biden's
Oh, dude, that's
laptops or something.
crazy.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm like, Republicans have to have the dumbest or laziest strategists in the entire world, because this is you're a week out from the election, and some Republican fucking war room is sitting around right now being like, well, the Hillary's emails thing worked last time, so what if we do it again, but just make it Hunter Biden instead of Hillary, and almost the same story. And it's
Yeah, but
just
that's like some crazy. Well, that's some like weird shit there. That's a little. I think the Hunter Biden emails, if they are true, like I don't know, like they seem true, I guess. But like if those are true, then it also like kind of points to Biden taking money from this Ukrainian firm too.
yeah, I don't give a fuck. Trump, like anyone who can look at that objectively and be like, that's a problem, but Trump funneling millions of taxpayer dollars to his own properties, that's okay.
Oh
But
no, don't get me
Biden,
wrong. I don't think it makes Biden worse than Trump. I'm just sick of like people trying to hide it. Like what Biden should have done was been like, yeah, that's just true, but we're still better than Trump with that.
yeah, I mean, really, I think that would probably be the way to go at this point. I think that's
Yeah.
why like they haven't had a ton of luck with like anyone other than Fox News picking up on that story. And I think everyone's like, well, we see how the emails thing went last time, and we ended
Yeah.
up with this fucking loudmouth asshole as our president for 4 years. So maybe we just don't report on things and hope it's I will say, like, Biden is ancient.
Oh,
uh
yeah, he's like 78.
yeah, he's like almost certainly going to die in office, but I will say,
How
like,
could anybody want to be president at that age?
yeah, like it just seems like so much fucking work. And you look at the before and after pictures of like Obama from his
Oh yeah.
presidency, and you're like, okay, if it ages a guy who was like 50 that much, then what's it going to do to a guy who's 78 years old?
Yeah.
Like he'll be in office for a month, and then his heart will just explode.
Yeah,
So
I mean, like on one hand, that's almost even like an argument for Biden because if Trump wins, he'll probably just be like on all those drugs he's been on and actually survive a couple years. Where if Biden wins, he's just basically like a water balloon that's just like whatever's inside water balloons and people. Like he's just like a thin
water.
skin bag of like bones and meat and stuff. And if like he wins, he'll just pop, and then you'll have Kamala Harris in there, and she'll be like, "Hey guys, remember how I ran the police and all this stuff? I actually know what I'm doing, so here you go." And
Yeah.
then all the police will get refunded, and everybody will be like super upset.
Yeah, I'm not a Kamala Harris fan, specifically due to her
Of the four,
her record. I mean,
four, I'm a
yeah,
huge Harris fan.
it's like you have like four incredibly shitty, and it's like it's
Yeah.
so fucking wild to me that like, okay, U.S. greatest country on earth, wonderful, leader of the free world, great, I get it. But these are the fucking people these represent the best of America, like best America has to offer.
Yeah.
This is the best you could come up with.
Adrian said it the best. He's like, this is just the natural end of what America deserves for their past is Trump.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah. And it's like, yeah, like how are these the ones to pick? But then you got to watch the whole thing unfold with the DNC, where it's like they had like Gabbard, Harris, Yang, all these like young, like hot studs and hot women, and you're like, fuck, these guys could be president. And it's like they're like have all this military background with Gabbard. You have like Yang, who has like an alternative like to AI and like with the universal basic income. Then you have Harris, obviously, and you're like, yeah, these people could give a real shot. Like, I think they'd bring a lot to the office. And then the DNC's like, yeah, all of you guys quit. We're going to go with Biden. You're so, what? Biden?
You
You're
know
going to,
who I actually fucking love, and you'll probably
yeah.
roll your eyes at this? AOC, man. Like there was a fawning Vanity Fair profile of her published a few days ago, and like she seems like a very like savvy, no bullshit, non-establishment. Like she's a fucking bartender who became a whatever she is,
She's
senator,
gonna need
congresswoman.
I she does look good and she is on TikTok and she has like the youth movement, but she's gonna need a lot of grooming. And I don't think like I don't trust her to have the experience and knowledge and wisdom to make the call with anything to do with like the military or laws or anything. Like, yeah, she's good. She like has a new approach to everything and she is, and it's like as bad as it is to say, she is like Trump. She is coming into the politics from the outside, so she's not like this like weird schemy politician first and like servant to the people second. Like, I do agree, she in like 10 years I think she could make a good president.
Yeah.
Like,
And I hope they're gearing, but she does definitely represent the more liberal side of the Democratic Party.
yeah,
Like
maybe
her,
2036.
yeah. Let's
I could see with that,
put
where it's
put a
like,
pin in it.
yeah, where it's like kind of some of her like naivety is like kind of eroded away from the hardship of life, so she can make like a better, more valued judgment
Although
call.
I mean, really, nothing. You could fucking elect like a fresh out of high school kid to the presidency tomorrow, and I do not think that they would be any more unhinged or incapable of reactiveness than the guy currently in the White House. So
I think if you took someone directly out of high school, maybe even grade 9, they would be Donald Trump exactly. Speaking of someone
but
in grade 9
hornier.
who's made bad decisions, Derek,
Dale, I love the segue, man. Pop
this
on in
one's
there.
this one's a left turn. Like, I just want to talk about this because this is like a huge thing that happened. And like, I get over the week we saw it go from like one end of the spectrum to the other. So it's like Mitchell Miller, who is an 18-year-old who was drafted 4th round by the Arizona Coyotes. Oh, one thing that bugged me about this was like you saw these news articles and they're like, the Coyotes' first pick of the draft was this horrible guy. And you're like, easy guys. It was only their first pick because they had all their other picks taken away
Take it
from
away.
them. And it was actually the 111th pick of the draft. So they take this guy, Mitchell
Also,
Miller.
can I just say this is the most notable a 4th round pick has
Yeah.
ever been? Like,
I think that's why they took him, was because with his shady past, like they probably took him because they're like, look, we get nothing this year. Other teams aren't touching this guy because of his like he got convicted of bullying when he was 14. So other teams are like, we don't want that on our fucking thing. And then the Coyotes have like like they don't have as much scrutiny as say other hockey teams, like say the New York Rangers or Toronto Maple Leafs, where the fans are watching everything they do. They kind of have a little bit of lenience. So I feel like they went in and tried to steal a pick, and then they're like, we'll take this guy who has this horrible past, and we'll kind of rebuild him up, kind of get
like
like,
a redemption story. Yeah.
yeah, like that's what I personally wanted. Like, so now this guy Mitchell Miller, like there's like this huge outcry. On Monday, there was an article written about his past where he was convicted of, what was it, like criminal assault or something. It was like he was convicted of bullying because they took a push pop, put it in the urinal, and made this developmentally African American kid lick it,
Development disabled African American
yeah,
kid.
which is fucking terrible to do to that person. But on the other hand, it's like I could see some fucking idiot 14-year-old guys making someone else lick a urinal. Like if you're doing it to one of your friends, it's I don't know. It's like we all did. I don't know. I just want to like address that like 14-year-old dudes do fucked up shit because they think it's funny and stuff. But the fact that they did it to someone with racist intent was bad, and that he was developmentally challenged, so he couldn't like have the faculties to maybe like figure out what exactly was going on.
Yeah, it was he and another teenager were accused of making 14-year-old Isaiah Meyer Crothers eat a candy push pot after wiping it in a bathroom urinal, and surveillance video showed them kicking and punching him. There was also, I can't remember if I read it on Twitter in the article itself, but it was basically like this specific kid had been a target of Miller's for like, 6 years prior to that. Like this wasn't just a one-time incident where
Oh
he
yeah,
like
it was
fucked up.
ongoing.
This was like
Yeah.
ongoing for a long ass time. So
And he did call this kid the N-word as well, which is
can't
to
say it.
show you how bad this guy is. Like Mitchell Miller is basically a piece of shit. There's no contending that. But my problem with this whole like fucking get him canceled, get him out of here is what I want to see is get Mitchell Miller into like psychiatrists and therapy and stuff and be like, look, if you're gonna be in this organization, we're gonna fucking figure out like not only how you could do this to somebody, but why you would do it. Like, just figure it out, like, why this young hockey player would pick on this other kid, like, see if it was all some other stress, and like maybe figure out what happened so that they could find warning signs in other like 12 to 14-year-old hockey players who are maybe aggressively acting out on the weaker like victims around them and stuff. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah, like they should murder him, dissect him, take out his brain, donate it to science so they can find out
Yeah. Well,
what the
like,
fuck.
oh, and also, so Arizona, like that's what they said that like they made a statement that they were gonna do like the redemption thing, make him in charge of these like charity groups and stuff, and make him go through the paces of basically becoming a better human, because they thought if they did that, then they could like get like a I don't even know how good he is, but he was slated to make the junior USA team, and he did get a full hockey scholarship to UND, which I believe is University of North Dakota,
That is correct,
which
Dale.
is
It
a
is.
pretty big hockey
They are a
university.
good ass hockey
That's
university.
that's
Yeah.
where Besser went, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, so he actually it doesn't matter because Miller got kicked off that squad, so he's not going to be part
Well,
of that
so
hockey team
like the most
anymore.
fucking surprising thing about this is that like the Coyotes, UND, Hockey USA, they all like this story was written and they all came out and they were like, what? What happened? And like they all fucking knew about it 100%.
Yeah.
Like
Well,
they,
the
you do your
Coyotes did
diligence.
say that they wanted to go with the redemption angle. Like they
Yeah.
were like, we know he had a troubled past, but we saw. I think they just, like I said before, they just got a chance at an untouchable player that nobody else was willing to take. So it's kind of like if he didn't have this bullshit past, he might have gone in the third round or whatever.
Yeah. But
Yeah,
that's the other thing is like, okay, if the Coyotes were actually doing that, then they would have gotten out ahead of the story. They would have drafted him. They would have issued a statement at the draft being like, here's what we know about this kid. Here's why we drafted him. Here's
yeah,
what's going on. You don't wait 2 fucking months until the expose is released and then be like, well, we were actually trying to give him a redemption. We
yeah,
think like it's bullshit. And sports franchises are particularly fucking awful for this, for like doing their due diligence, noticing like really toxic or shitty behavior in someone, and just like being
hmm
willing to overlook it for talent.
like
And
Patrick Kane.
yeah, exactly. Like Patrick Kane should not be fucking employed as a janitor, given that guy's and meanwhile, here he is earning
Yeah.
$1 million in the NHL.
One thing that happened though was with all the fucking bullshit that the Coyotes did, they lost like they broke combine rules by like making players work out ahead of schedule or something. I'm not exactly sure what happened, but they ended up losing a pick from this year and next year. And then their GM, the guy who was GM at the time, just walked off the job because there was some shady shit there where he was like looking for a different job in the off season with a different club or something, and he like assured that the Coyotes management that it wasn't a hockey thing, but then it turned out to be a hockey thing, so they got rid of him. So they got a new general manager, but since it was when he got hired, it was still so close to the draft, he couldn't have any input on who they drafted and stuff. So it's all this like big clusterfuck at like behind the house. So it's kind of like this whole like clusterfuck of everything going down, and then him like the new GM trying to pick all the scouts and basically hire the whole staff from the ground up. It could have like maybe kind of got lost in the shuffle, but I think like Derek said, like they should have, like, people picked him, people knew this because Mitch Miller did sign an apology and like a statement to all the NHL teams being like, look, this is what happened. I'm a changed person and stuff. And then one of the problems was, the thing he was convicted of was in 2016. And then he was like, it happened 4 years ago. I'm over it. But then like other people are like, no, he was still doing this shit in 2018 to the same kid, like 2 years after he was convicted. It was just, it wasn't as like horrific or anything, so they couldn't, like, he was still calling this kid names and stuff, so everybody was like, whoa, what the fuck. And I think that was one of the reasons too why they let him go, because they're like, we thought it was this, he told us it was this, we were willing to work with him on that, but it turns out he lied to us too, so he's fuck him.
Yeah.
So and also my other problem was, it's like, yeah, maybe this kid, maybe you shouldn't have the redemption story with him. Maybe they did make the wise choice to walk away from entirely. But if he is like so toxic and so bad, why is he eligible to be drafted in the first place?
Yeah. Like tons of people who don't fucking bully and assault developmentally disabled black kids go to play hockey at university and then become fucking accountants or whatever. So like, I mean, why?
Yeah, like there's like reports of other teams like being like, holy shit, like when like gasping and like reacting like when they picked him. So it's like the NHL knew what was going on. They should have just been like, yeah, nobody gets this guy. Like and now it's like, is he still going to be in the World Juniors?
I mean, probably not. And that's not going to be because he doesn't deserve to be there or because anyone on the World Juniors had a problem with his behavior. It's because he got exposed. Yeah. So
like if so this article that was written in like an Arizona newspaper, sorry, I can't recall which one it was specifically. If that never got published, would any of this other stuff happen, do you think?
No, not. And the guy writing the article actually made a really interesting point where if these offenses had happened in Canada and he was a Canadian kid, no one would fucking know about him, because in Canada it's illegal to publish like
because he's underage, they wouldn't have his name.
Yeah, young offenders, you cannot publish their names even on the record. So like no one would have had any fucking idea it was him. But because he's an American, he got
and
for it, so.
Also in America or in Canada, I believe like your record gets like fucking wiped once you're 19. So it would be impossible to even go back and look. And it's like, and you hear all this other stuff about like all the bullshit that's happening in like hockey, like all the hazing and stuff. And it's like, so this kid that he was picking on and stuff that he like made eat the push pop. What if that other kid was in hockey? Would anybody even be hearing about all this bullshit?
No.
Yeah. So like
conclusively, no. Nobody would hear about it at all.
And it's like a lot of people were saying like, good, get rid of them so people know not to act like this. But I think it's just more of a like, if you act like this, don't get caught doing this type of thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's exactly. And that should be, you know, I think more than anything, that's really what cancel culture reinforces. It's that like, do whatever the fuck you want, but make sure you don't get recorded, make sure you don't get caught, make sure nothing ends up on public record, and you'll be A-okay.
Yeah. Oh, do you want to that's that's it. Do you want to talk about this TikTok challenge that I don't even know if it's really a challenge? It's just because they said, oh, there's a new terrible TikTok challenge and it's Halloween related. So I kind of wanted to talk about it because we owe every like new dumb challenge we talk about, like the Tide Pods and
What is it? The feed your drugs to kids challenge? Is that?
no, they made it sound like it was a challenge, but it sounds like it was something that a couple dumb TikTokers did that they just were like saying it was like a TikTok challenge to like give this news story more legs. But what the thing is these people are gluing on vampire fangs to their teeth and then they can't get them off.
Wait, gluing?
Yeah, like they're using like press on nail glue and they're like use and like super glue and stuff because they're fucking teenage idiots and AOC. So everybody who's on TikTok that's not AOC, who Derek loves, is an idiot kid. And they were like, "Oh, it's Halloween. I'm gonna put on these vampire teeth." So they like glue them. And then one TikToker, they said it took her like 6 hours to get them off. And then the story had like a dentist being like, "Yo, you can fuck up your enamel. Don't do this." Because that's how dentists talk. They use the words "yo" and "fuck."
Yeah,
all the time.
I've heard. I mean, my dentist every time I go in there is like, "Yo, you fucking idiot!"
Yeah, it's like they're like, "When was the last time you flossed?" You're like, "I don't know, months ago." They're like, "Yo, what the fuck?
Yo, what the fuck?
I got to go in that mouth, and you haven't even been flossing for me."
Did you see the creators of TikTok actually won their lawsuit against Donald Trump over the TikTok ban in the U.S.? So that will probably be reversed in short order here.
Oh, cool. So everybody, hello, Noah.
He can't hear you, but he says hi.
Oh, hi.
Noah, what do you think of TikTok?
Yeah, no.
What? You love it?
It's a very good. It's a very good thing to say.
He's all
I mean,
about
I
the
don't
content
know.
creators.
It's like, it just seems like too much effort. It's like, yeah, making videos. It's like, I barely got into like the videos on Instagram. There's no way I'm starting another fucking app.
Yeah. And I mean, it definitely seems more.
Although we should have TikTok
involved.
for this podcast. So every time one of us ever says something hilarious, we could put like a 10-second clip up and then we'll get so many fans that people will like throw money at us.
Throw a soundtrack, a fucking pop soundtrack on it, and we're going.
Yeah. Or like the Halloween soundboard that I had that didn't work. That would have been fun.
Rest in peace. Although, who knows? Maybe by the time you publish this episode, you will have worked some Halloween sound effects in there.
Definitely. I'm not going to get rid of, but I'm going to replace the regular opening with the Halloween.
A spooky Halloween opening.
Spooky. Yeah.
All right.
Scares.
I gotta feed my kid. So do you want to
I thought you said he was eating candy.
Yeah, I feel like I should maybe put actual food in him tonight, maybe to offset all the candy he's gonna eat later. But was there anything else you wanted to discuss, Dale?
Oh, I didn't put it on the list, but do you listen to Spitting Chicklits? It's another podcast that was getting a lot of heat.
Well, it's a Barstool.
It's Barstool podcast, Profits, but it's Ryan Whitney, Paul Bissonnette, and I can't remember the other guy's like a guy who was a writer for Barstool. Fuck, his name's R.A. Fuck, what is it? Anyways, I think they only ever call him R.A. or the Rear Admiral.
But he's not a
he's not a hockey player.
He's like the one who's not an actual hockey player.
Yeah,
right?
He's the third host. So they have a show called Spitting Chicklets, and it's on Barstool Profits platform, which makes sense because RA wrote for them and stuff, and they got a huge backing. As soon as you like get a podcast on Barstool, like the Who's Her Daddy or whatever,
Call Her Daddy,
Call Her Daddy is like one of the most popular shows in Canada. And I've never heard of it. Anyways, so they have Elias.
I don't think you're their target audience.
Yeah, Elias Pettersson. So he was on the show, and I was like, I can't believe he'd go on this stupid podcast. Why would he go on it? Because Vancouver hockey fans are easily the most tender hockey fans in the whole league, and they are the most liberal and woke, and they think that a podcast hosted. Sorry.
I was gonna actually make a joke earlier when we were talking about like how every team probably has a fucking awful hockey player on it, except for my sweet baby boys, the Vancouver Canucks, who can do no wrong and are pure and innocent.
Yeah, and they let all their hockey players get signed by the Flames anyway. So.
Yeah, where they suddenly become murderous, rapist assholes.
Yeah.
So, but not until that happens.
Yeah, so Elias goes on this podcast. There was like, "Oh my god, I can't believe you went on this misogynist, sexist, homophobic site." And it's funny because RA said the deadly trinity of insults online is like racist, homophobic, and sexist. And they just like, and it's funny because if you listen to the podcast, I think it's like 25 minutes in, they're just like, people have been saying this, and you know what? Fuck you, get lost. And it's so funny because it's a podcast run by ex-hockey players. I don't know what the fuck you were expecting. They've got dirty mouths and they make fun of each other and they make fun of everybody else. And that's why it's entertaining to listen to it. So there was some heat of that. It was a really good interview with Elias Pettersson on there. So you should go listen to it. Do you listen to Spitting Chicklits?
No, there is exactly one podcast on Barstool that I like, and it's Pardon My Take. I listened to a few, but it was very
bro culture.
Well, it was bro, but like moderate bro culture stuff doesn't usually bother me too much. But I listened to these guys, and I was just like, Jesus Christ! I actually like Biz Nasty a lot. He's done some cool, some good videos and shit.
Yeah, like Biz Nasty on BC or whatever.
Yeah,
that was good.
But yeah, just like the way the three of them play off each other, and I'm just it's like listening to Call Her Daddy, but for guys, which is just as fucking awful as you could ever imagine.
Okay, I've never listened to that, but
don't.
Yeah, don't. It's just don't. I don't know. It's kind of like just Joe Rogan. Don't. It's like I like it, and everybody else I talk to doesn't like it. I'm like, whatever. You don't have to like it.
Yeah.
So it's like I get why people don't like Spitting Chicklets because they are kind of like jockish and locker roomish with their jokes and takedowns of each other. But I don't know. I think that's kind of why I like it. But
yeah. I on principle don't like too many things Barstool related, just because they're the CEO is such an irredeemable shithead.
Oh yeah, he's like
fucking Dave Portnoy, fucking asshole.
Yeah, he was on the Bill Burr podcast, and he was talking about how much he gets laid, and you're just like, ugh,
he is
gross. You're tainting all the women for the rest of us just because you've been inside them.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then people were like, "Oh, Elias, you shouldn't go on there." But he when he was on there, he was talking about how he's thinking about getting into streaming and kind of growing his brand online, like a lot of these players are doing. I think Gaudette is Gaudette on the Canucks still? Is he one of the guys that they managed possibly to re-sign? Anyways, yeah, I think he's a video game streamer.
What, like Twitch? And, I was gonna say Twitch. Yeah. Twitch streaming.
And Austin Matthews is getting into it, and I think McKinnon's into it. So all these players are kind of doing that, and it's another revenue stream that you can tap in. That it's I think he definitely should. So now that he's if I was Elias, I would definitely go on Spitting Chicklets to get my name out there and be like, yo, I'm doing this Twitch thing. If you want to check it out, go check it out. And then you would get some money from that.
20 years ago, if I would have told you that in the future, professional athletes are going to need to supplement their income by playing video games, what would you have thought?
I would be like, did the shoe industry fall through? To the bottom of the shoe? And then it'd be if rappers wouldn't have gotten in the shoe game, then they could have just left it for the athletes. I don't think it's these guys need to supplement their income. I think they just like more money. I don't blame them. If I wasn't as lazy as I am, I would probably try stream. And actually, I'm pretty bad at video games. I love playing video games, but I'm definitely not good enough at them to be a streamer.
I don't think the people that from what I've seen, the people who are good streamers aren't good at video games. They're just entertaining. And we're both fucking entertaining.
Yeah.
Noah watches these dumb assholes. Oh, he's not in the room anymore. Noah watches these dumb assholes who literally all they do is play video games and yell at each other. And it's like straight up yelling, like me in the first minute of this podcast. Noah, get out of here.
Or my jump scares. Oh, that was like, remember when you and me played Fortnite for like a second? The only reason we played it was because Derek has a Switch and I have an Xbox, and it's the only game you could play with each other on there. And there was this kid, and his name was Marco, and he was like a 9-year-old. And he was like, my name is Marco. And he was like screaming the whole time. And I was just like, is your microphone inside your mouth, because that's how loud you are.
That's what you got to be a Twitch streamer,
dude,
man.
We should check back in. We should find Marco. Maybe he has a Twitch stream.
Yo, Marco, if you're listening to this podcast, we'd love to interview you about Twitch streaming. Get it. Actually, if we know any like legitimate Twitch streamers, I know Keenan's kind of one.
Yeah, he's already on the podcast, so he doesn't count. Yeah, check out Keaton's Twitch at Horse Snorkel.
If you are a Twitch streamer, come on this podcast so we can talk about how you manage to maintain any self-respect. Just kidding.
And so we can supplement our income, because unlike professional hockey players, we probably actually should be doing that.
Yeah, I'd like to primalent my income in that. I would just like to have one, I don't know, like supplements. Like I'd like one main income.
I would just like to be able to take advantage of the economic slowdown after COVID and just buy up all this property and be a slumlord and just recognize my true calling.
I think you might have just shot yourself in the foot by loudly announcing that. But, you know, Dale.
Okay, fine. I will be a totally respectable property owner.
There you go. Better. All right. Anything else?
Bah! Now that's it from me.
To all our American listeners, good luck in your fucking election. Please do your democratic duty and vote, even though I personally did not in our recent BC election. But
what?
To you. It's super important.
Derek.
Fuck off, Dale.
I mean, it was a shoo-it. Like, it was like Horgan's, like, people are going to vote for this guy nobody's ever seen over Horgan.
Yeah. Even if it wasn't a shoo-in, I don't know that I would have done it, because I was just like, it's a tough year to care about much. Unless you're American, in which case, hey, super important that you vote. So go and do that. Thanks for tuning in. As always, I have been your co-host, Derek Bolin. You can follow me on the Twitter machine at, I guess not as always. For the first time in quite a while, I'm your co-host, Derek Bolin. Follow me on the Twitter machine at Herder.
I'm your other co-host, Dale DeRuiter. Follow me on the Twitter machine at SuperDalebot. Find us on iTunes, or not iTunes, on YouTube, Outrage Factory. If you're watching this on Facebook, it's pretty much the same thing as this. If you're listening to this on your automatic download, you can go to YouTube and watch the video, and that way you don't have to get Facebook. I know Neil is probably the only listener. Oh, Scott doesn't have Facebook either. So if you're listening to this and you don't have Facebook and you do want to see our faces and my bitch and Venom mask, just go over to YouTube and check her out.
If you're watching this on Facebook, YouTube is exactly like this, only we re-record the episode fully nude. So head on over to listen to it, or look at it, I guess.
Do we still have our Patreon thing? Does that still work?
We do. I haven't checked in a while, and I very rarely charge people money on it. So if you would like to only occasionally donate to us, head on over to our Patreon.
Yeah, we should probably check that, because I think I looked for it. I don't know if Patreon takes down inactive pages or anything. But
Patreon.com/Outrage Factory, Outrage Fact Pod.
Is it still
there?
We're
still there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Watch, there's like 10 people trying to give us money and you didn't turn it on. We could have been rich.
We could have had a moderate amount.
I never get any feedback from this. So if you want to give us feedback, outragefactpod@gmail. I think we have 2 Gmail accounts, because I had to set up another Gmail account to get a YouTube account for this podcast, and Derek had set up a Gmail account beforehand. So I know outragefactpod@gmail is one, so probably outragefactory@gmail is one too, but one of them I don't think we'll check, the other one we will. Yeah, Is that it? Is there more things?
Sorry, I started looking at our Patreon. They did actually unpublish the page. So
Those motherfuckers.
apparently you need to charge people money semi-frequently in order for them to recognize your business is valid. So
It's not like Blogspot where it's just like they leave it up there forever.
yeah, forever.
That's
You can go and
weird.
still
You
fucking-
figure like it would be easier to just leave a page up instead of having one that like, because if you would have to like write software to check all these pages to make sure they're active and stuff before you like unpublish them and stuff.
Yeah. Plus, like, what do you fucking care if I only make one podcast episode a year? Maybe I'm lazy.
Do you think we got canceled?
Cancel call. Yeah, they probably listened to some episodes and they were
my
like,
God.
you do not meet our
They're like, this guy's too
standards."
funny. He's gonna melt people's humor right out of their body. Let's get rid of it.
You would, it's true. Okay. Hey, everyone, until next week.
Stay angry
And spooky and voty.
Ah!